Hello everybody, my name is Joe and I'm a keeper here at Brookfield Zoo, and today we're going to talk about one of our mammal animals here at the swamp. So here we have on exhibit today Benny, one of our two North American river otters. Benny here is almost 18 years old and he's on his own today out on exhibit. Charlotte, our female North American river otter, who's about 12 years old. She'll actually turn 12 in February. She is kind of hanging off exhibit today. She's taking a siesta. So here we have Benny swimming around in his pool. Now, North American river otters are found all over the place, east of Mississippi, all the way up into Canada, and have been known all the way down in a few parts near the Mexican border. So Benny's looking at me because he knows I brought a treat for him today. So I'm going to throw something in and Benny will play with it for a bit. So this is just a little special treat, keep them occupied. So in that frozen block are a bunch of shrimp. So our otters eat several different types of food. They get 3 different types of fish: capelin, smelt, and herring. And then for treats, they get things like shrimp, crayfish, clams, mussels, and some of their favorite items, actually very strange for most people to hear. Otters actually like green peppers and carrots. They actually work pretty quickly on these ice treats. It melts pretty fast and they'll sort of pick it out. The North American river otters have a very good comeback story. Some ages and ages ago, otters were hunted for their pelts all up and down in Illinois and the surrounding areas. And for the longest time, you couldn't see them. And we worked hard and we did a lot of restoration in our streams to help fish populations grow. And once they were amassed, otters started to show back up. There was a lot of breeding. And we brought the otters back to Illinois because we cleaned it up. So where there used to be just several, they can be seen all up and down some of the rivers. And they are quite curious, so they may even come up to your kayak or boat and take a look. But these guys were almost completely gone from Illinois.
What's the difference between a river otter and a muskrat?
So river otters, otters in general, all species of otters, are part of the family called Mustelidae. So they're related to minks and ferrets and weasels, even wolverines and badgers. They're from that species. Muskrats are actually rodents, completely different. These guys do not have ever-growing teeth. They've got 36 teeth in their mouth, sharp canines, incisors, and the sort. So completely different species.
If you were, canoeing down a river and one stuck its head out of the water, what would be the difference?
The difference, so muskrats, you'll definitely see those big teeth up front. With the otters, the way their face is, unless they open up their mouth real wide, you really won't see those prominent canines that they use to crack open crayfish shells or help pry open certain other food items. These guys can be on land and water. They're not. Many people think that they look similar to sea otters. Sea otters are much bigger. So these guys weigh in, on average, about almost 20 pounds, where sea otters are much larger. These guys don't sit on their back and float around, but they aren't, slacks in the water. These guys can actually swim around at almost 7 miles an hour, which might seem pretty slow, but the fastest human in the water is about 4 miles. So almost twice as fast as the fastest human. They can also hold their breath for about 5 minutes, give or take, with just one breath. So when they see that fish, they're going to dive in and be able to hunt that fish at a good speed for quite a bit. But they also move around on land a lot. So during the winter, when their pond or lake is frozen over, they will actually travel on land for several miles trying to find another thinner ice layer on a body of water or an open body of water to go in there and hunt for food.
What makes them such good swimmers?
They have a couple very good adaptations. First is they have little webbed feet, both front and back. They have a very thick tail that can kind of act as a rudder. Also underwater, being in the water a lot, that heavy coat would weigh them down. But the coat is very oily, they groom it, and there's air trapped in there. So it keeps them warm. So as you see him swimming, sometimes you'll see air come actually out from underneath his coat. That's because he fluffs it up, packs air in there, and as they're swimming, it helps keep them insulated.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Getting distracted by Benny.
It's easy to get distracted by them. They are quite curious and always in your business. They like to see new things, but not always excited to be around new things. We've added new toys, new sorts of enrichment or things to their exhibit, and it actually takes them a while to warm up to new things, but sometimes once they do, they can't get enough of it.
So can they be found in the Chicagoland area?
They can, up and down Plains River, even our own little Salt Creek that we have here. I'm sure there's been a couple in there.
How do they survive the winter?
How do they survive the winter? They find a den, maybe left over by somebody else. They don't really dig their own dens, but they can. But they'll find other dens and just haul up in there. They do love the winter. We haven't had too much snow here in this area, but when we have big heavy snows, we'll actually go out and bring in barrels, garbage cans full of snow and fill their exhibit full of snow. They love it. Because that coat keeps them warm, they'll just play in the snow for hours.
And how long do they live?
How long do they live? These guys typically live about late teens, early 20s. So Benny here is getting up there in age. He's still in very good condition, weight, appetite, and behavior. So we're expecting, we got a couple more years for Benny.
Do they like it when the water is really cold?
This water comes in at a very cold temperature, and they'll dive right in. They don't really ever test the water to see if it's too cold or too warm. They're just in it.
How much do they sleep every day?
It's hard to tell, but for those out there that might have cats at home, they sleep pretty much like cats. They wake up when they feel like doing something or eating, but other than that, they're sleeping.
And are Benny and Charlotte the only river otters here at Brookfield Zoo?
Yes, Benny and Charlotte are the only ones we have here. They are a breeding pair, so every year we look forward to having some, but it doesn't always happen. So their breeding season is around the late spring, throughout spring pretty much. But the otters have a very interesting thing. They actually do delayed implantation. So after a successful breeding, Charlotte will actually hold on to a fertilized embryo till almost the first of the new year. So right around in between winter and spring. So right around January, that embryo will implant. It's only 60 months gestation. So typically, end of February, beginning of March, we may see little pups.
60 months?
I'm sorry, 60 days.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, that's worse than an elephant. Okay.
No, 60 days,
5
sorry.
years.
It seems like that long. You're waiting and waiting. So yeah, 60 days for a litter of typically 2, but they can have up to 6.
So Benny and Charlotte are a breeding pair. Are otters monogamous? Do they stay with the same mate?
Yes, unless a mate dies, they stay with each other and pair up. They have been known to have multiple groups. So say Benny and Charlotte could have several other couple friends that they hang around with in the same territory. They're not territorial, but it's kind of a mutual avoidance. Like, you guys stay over there, we're going to stay over, and everybody's cool with that. But we get together and we might
Play
hunt at the same, thing. But other than that, we don't constantly hang out. We're okay that we live near each other. So,
let's find some more questions. Do they? Is this habitat? Is it warm or is it cold?
The air in this habitat is pretty much ambient temperature in the building. We keep it warm because we have a lot of reptiles in the building. Nothing is really air conditioned except their off exhibit holding. We do have air conditioners back there. During the summer it can get very hot back there. So we have the air conditioners, and they don't run that often. It's just minimal, just to keep it a little, not too sweltering hot.
Can you remind the people who joined us late where Charlotte is?
Oh yes, Charlotte has decided today to stay off exhibit. They have access to come and go as they please. Benny wants to steal the show today, I guess. This is the time of the year that if Charlotte would be pregnant, she would start to den up or hang out by herself and not really want to be around Benny. So we don't know if that's what she's going through or she's just decided to sleep the day away. So she is off exhibit. She's safe and sound.
What do they eat in the wild?
So in the wild, fish, all kinds, anything they can catch. They do love any sort of small crustaceans. They have been known to eat small mammals if they can catch them, but it's not really high on their diet choice. So, crayfish, they're not really fond of, eating birds or eggs or anything like that. It's almost entirely fish.
So you said that they typically find other dens to live in. So are they just opportunistic like that, or would they make their own den if they had to?
They're not built for excessive digging, so they'll find old dens or spots where the ground naturally forms some sort of alcove where they can kind of snuggle down. Most of the time it is near water, so they don't have to go too far to hopefully get something to eat.
Do their tails help them cool down?
I don't know if they necessarily help them cool down.
They're more for like steering?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do their teeth continuously grow?
No, they get teeth kind of like us. They'll get a couple baby teeth and those will pop out, and then they'll get their big adult teeth and that'll stay.
How long have Benny and Charlotte been together?
Benny and Charlotte have been together probably 6 years now.
I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah, it feels like it every year. So, and they do get along, except during certain times of the year. But it's what would happen in the wild, so it's nothing different here.
Oh my goodness, he's going so fast. I can't keep up with him today.
He wants to check everything out. He's hanging out. He wants to see if we threw anything else in exhibit to snack on or a treat.
Yeah, I saw him looking at you like, give me some more fish. Did I already ask you how much they weigh?
I think so, but that's why.
Can't remember.
So Benny on average, he weighs about 8 to 9 kilograms, so that comes out to roughly close to 20 pounds. Females are lighter. Charlotte's in the 6-7 kilograms range. I bet she's a little bit heavier now. They do, even though they're not outside, they do typically put on that winter weight or that winter heavier body fat content. Her body, I think, just goes through it every year to just prep, just in case she is pregnant. She'll get on that extra bit of energy just in case.
Can you remind us how fast they swim?
How fast they swim? On average, they can swim almost 7 miles an hour underwater. Most fish do swim faster than 7 miles an hour, but they have to be. These guys learn how to make sharp turns and quick and angles to catch those fish. On Wednesdays we get live fish. So once we open, you all come back to run and see Benny and Charlotte. On Wednesdays, it varies on the time that we'll pour live fish in here, and those fish do not stand a chance. They go pretty fast.
Do you do any type of training with the river otters?
We do. All of our training is positively reinforced. all voluntary. If they want to train, they will train. If they decide to walk away, that's fine. Most of the training we do here is for husbandry reasons. If I want to take a look at Benny's feet, he'll put his paws up on the cage. I'll take a look. I'll check his nails. For Charlotte, we actually started to train her to actually accept ultrasounds on her belly just in case. Same thing, just stand up. They target, they go in their crates voluntarily, just in case we have to move them to the hospital for any reason. And some stuff is just to keep them active. They'll move from point to point.
So Benny's kind of scratching himself against the walls over there. What's he doing?
So he could have an itch, plain and simple. He's just want to scratch himself. The other thing that they do, because that coat gets so saturated with water, you don't want to sleep. You wouldn't want to sleep in a wet towel after you get out of the bath. So what Benny will actually do is all those rocks in there, and when he rolls around, he's actually trying to wring the water out of his heavy coat. And as he does that, it dries him off a little bit. And of course, he gets right back into the water.
I was going to say, he does that a lot. I've watched him like completely dry off and then dive right back in.
And because he did that, if you saw when he got back in the water, all these little bubbles came out of his coat. And that's exactly what it is. It kind of roughs it up, moves it around, gets some air in there, and then it comes right out from underneath the coat. So you just needs to fluff it back up.
Do they do a bathroom dance?
Do they do a bathroom dance? They actually kind of do. Benny's, if you ever watch Benny, he'll stand there and he'll like stamp his feet and his tail will up in there. That's actually him going to the bathroom. Both 1 and 2, if those really want to know. The males do it more. I don't really see Charlotte do it too much, but there is a silly little stamping of feet.
Do they scent mark?
They do scent mark. That's also how they'll do that.
Someone wants to know what happened to all the other otters. We used to have a few, and I think they're probably referring to their offspring.
Yes, we many years ago, not many years ago, but we did. They did have 2 offspring, Kate and Jack. Kate and Jack got old enough, and were both sent down to 2 institutions. One went up to Canada, and one went down south to another zoo, I believe, in Houston. So yeah, we've been hoping to see a couple more baby faces, but nothing as of yet. So fingers are crossed.
How long would the babies stay with their parents?
In the wild, babies will stay with parents almost a year. So it kind of works out very well with the delayed implantation. So if Charlotte were to give birth, say end of February, shortly after she gives birth, right around when the spring hits, she will go through a postpartum estrus, which she'll want to breed again. And her and Benny, if they breed successfully, Charlotte will get that fertilized embryo, and she'll hold on to it. The whole time she's still nursing her kids and taking care of them. And right around the time that embryo is getting ready to implant, mom and dad will have 2 almost 1-year-old kids, and they'll be ready to leave the den and go and join their groups or find mates. So it's this very cyclical thing. So yeah, those kids were with mom and dad for a year, and we found them new homes, and off they went.
Are their claws sharp?
Their claws are sharp, but not like very hard, like a cat very hard. They do, because they climb up and down on the rocks. They'll scuff them. They could probably, they wouldn't really scratch you badly like a cat would, but they leave a mark. Their teeth and the jaw strength is the thing you have to worry about. They have very, very large canines, and if you can imagine, they're crunching through a shell of a crayfish with ease.
So they're super cute, but you wouldn't want to try to pet one.
No, you do not want to pet one. We don't pet them. They actually, they don't like anything to do with us unless we really supply the food. They could be sleeping, and I'll come up and say hi, and Benny will give me a holler, like, leave me alone and move away. So they would not make good pets, as cute as they are, even as much as I would think I would love one as a pet. They No way. You would need a pool this big or bigger. You would need filtration. They're stinky. There's tons of fish involved. So I would definitely highly recommend never having them.
All right, let's do one more question.
Sure.
What do otters have for dessert?
What do otters have for dessert? You know, they do have certain things that they like the most out of their extra items. I would probably say their favorite is shrimp. That's what I gave Benny today. That is one thing I can almost guarantee that they will always eat. Sometimes they don't like everything else. But even stuff like green peppers, you throw a green pepper in there, they'll play with that thing and tear it apart. So it varies. It's interesting what they find that they like. So, all right, well, that's all the time I have today. Thank you again for joining me and seeing our wonderful otters, especially Benny. And we'd like to thank you all for your continued support of Brookfield Zoo, and we'll see you here real soon. Okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.